foreign nationals, and by the way, General Hersey, thank you for joining us here today and talking about this very important, critical mission of our military. But foreign nationals continue to invest more resources in cyber crimes and cyber terrorism. Our cybersecurity efforts have become even more important as we prepare for current and future global threats. We're proud to have U.S. Army Cyber Command, the Cyber Center of Excellence, and state investments like the Georgia Cyber Center located in Augusta, Georgia, as part of those national efforts. I'm excited to be joined by one of the top cyber experts, Major General Neil Hersey from Fort Gordon, to discuss the evolving cyber threats and how our state is playing a pivotal role in protecting our national security. Major General Hersey is currently the Commanding General of the Cyber Center of Excellence in Fort Gordon and will be transitioning to a new role at the end of next month. We've been blessed to have him in his leadership at the helm of Fort Gordon. General Hersey, U.S. Army Cyber Center of Excellence in Fort Gordon are truly at the forefront of our national cybersecurity efforts. On the heels of the Colonial Pipeline attack, could you share how cybersecurity attacks have evolved over the last year and what the threats look like for public and private entities?
So thank you for that question, Congressman. And if I could quickly say, it is an honor to be with you today and participate in this with the Georgia Chamber Virtual DC fly-in with our Chamber of Commerce leaders and leaders from around the state. So no surprise, cyber attacks continue to evolve as we speak. Many factors contribute to the complexity of these attacks, to include the continuous advances in technology, the access to networks, and now the significant increase in remote teleworking, just remote working, and as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. I would say whether it's military, whether it's public, or whether it's private industry, the threats are very real and should and cannot be ignored. So let me start with some examples anyone can find with a simple search on open source reporting. And a few that immediately come to mind are, one is the AI or artificial intelligence driven threats, those bots that are out there that actually pay attention to what you're clicking on, what products you like, et cetera, and then putting that in a database and generating actions. You also have phishing, which are typically emails that go out. When it goes out in a mass fashion, that's called phishing. If they're looking at specific groups, for instance, the government sector or a certain part of the government sector or city government, that's spear phishing. And if they're going after an individual, like you, Congressman, you're a senior leader, I'm a senior leader, we're targets, that's called whaling. Very official looking emails that know the type of business that you're in and know some specifics will tempt you to click on them. So those are a couple of examples. And as we know from this colonial attack, ransomware is proliferating. It's a relatively easy way to make money for criminal elements, with frankly using things that are out there in the wild that they can either buy or they can manufacture themselves. And as we migrate more and more things to the cloud, there is actually cloud jacking, where adversaries can enter that what you think is a sanctuary for storage of your information and access that. And as I mentioned with our remote work and telework, anytime you add another connection, so if you're working from home and connecting virtually to another network, that's increasing what we call attack surface, and allows an adversary or criminal another way to get in and gain your data or gain access to your identity. So all of those are very real threats that we, not just in the military, but as a nation, are battling every day. And you mentioned Colonial Pipeline as one of the most recent cyber attacks. And this cyber attack has had major expensive implications and frankly still is, that we all are experiencing, particularly here in Georgia and parts in the Southeast. I'd also touch on the remote workforce vulnerabilities. The recent move to remote and hybrid work has increased the threat from our work from home employees, for example, to include here on Gordon and other places, have shifted from the multi-layer security work networks that we have and in our hard buildings to using their home networks to connect through a virtual private network, and it's not the same level of security. So it requires additional vigilance. In many cases, also the increased use of personal computers and devices such as personal tablets and smartphones to accomplish work-related requirements is a vulnerability and something we should be exceptionally vigilant, especially with our device security software settings if we have to use our personal devices. So no surprise, our cyber hygiene has never been more important than now. And let's not forget how we manage ourselves on social media and the threats related to that as well. If I could offer a couple of tips and some best practices that leaders should consider for hybrid cyber hygiene. So whether you're a large business owner, a small business owner, managing your family's home network, all of these can potentially apply. First is make cybersecurity a priority. So protecting your network should be at the top. The way I talk about the network to Army and government leaders when I talk about cybersecurity is you have to look at your network as a weapon system, and as a business person, it is your working capital and has to be treated that way. So you can build some cyber imperatives into the culture and start lining those out, and that will inform a cybersecurity strategy that is worth investing in, whether it's a business or a government entity. If you don't have a cybersecurity specialist or a cybersecurity team or an information assurance specialist, I would hire one. And if you do have one already, make sure that individual is empowered and has a direct line to you as a CEO, president, or senior official in your company. Next is train all of your workforce, not just the cybersecurity team. The weakest or the biggest vulnerability in all of our systems is a human being, and it's the easiest target. So more and more we're seeing hackers actually targeting an individual's behavior versus spending all the capital to trying to get into their network, through things like social engineering. So educating the rest of the workforce beyond cybersecurity about it is probably, as if not more important than having your trained cybersecurity professionals. And as such, make sure they understand the threat of phishing and how important it is to think once, think twice, count to 5 before you open an email or click on an email that is sitting in your queue. And then the last thing I'll close up with, if things don't, stuff happens, even with our best security practices, networks are vulnerable. It's just increasing how difficult we make it for an adversary to get in our systems. But if and when they do, have an incident response plan and a process in place, and ensure that everyone understands it and what they're supposed to do. So those are a couple of thoughts. Greatly appreciate the question, Congressman.
Great. I got a couple more for you. I want you to talk more about how Fort Gordon works with other bases across the state, like Fort Benning, or even across our nation to support our national cybersecurity strategy. And how does each base leverage its strengths, and how does their combined actions cement Georgia's role as a cyber leader?
So once again, thanks for the question. Happy to answer that and provide my perspective. It won't be as lengthy as a response as the first one. But the Cyber Center of Excellence here at Fort Gordon just completed a military exercise with Fort Benning called CyberQuest. CyberQuest provided Fort Gordon and Fort Benning the opportunity to partner together as we tested and evaluated equipment alongside our private industry, other military services, government, and academia. Some of those technologies that we tested, you may see in the hands of our military servicemen and women as part of our national cybersecurity strategy. So we leverage our strengths with our number one resource, and that's our people. Our people make the difference in all our centers of excellence around the country, and the same is true right here in the Central Savannah River area. So just speaking a little bit more about people, I'll take this opportunity to mention the Army is currently in its national hiring days until the middle of June. So we have, if you haven't, I encourage you to be on the lookout for young men and women whom you believe have the character, physical fitness, and intelligence to serve their country in uniform. I've had the opportunity myself to serve for over 33 years all around the world, and this provided me and my family an incredible sense of pride and accomplishment. And we've also launched a new recruiting campaign. It's under the goarmy.com website. It's called The Calling, and it is an animated driven tool that is the real life story of 5 young soldiers told through animation about their personal stories and what drove them to elect to serve their great nation. And I can tell you, it's a great team to be on. So thanks again for the question.
Good. Well, we know having the necessary talent is integral to being able to respond effectively, especially to evolving cyber threats. Before serving as the commanding general Cyber Center of Excellence in Fort Gordon, you were the commandant of the U.S. Army Cyber School at Fort Gordon. Would you share the training and skills being provided by our cyber soldiers and how that has changed over the last few years? And additionally, how is Fort Gordon working with the local community to help bolster our talent pipeline, such as your coordination with the Georgia Cyber Center?
Great question, Congressman. So the cyber branch is the newest branch in the Army. It's now 7 years old. It's the smallest branch, but I would argue it is the biggest bang for the buck with a relatively small investment to date. And I'll talk about the investment a little bit as well. But we're still constantly looking for ways to improve, even though we're new, as we did when we added the electromagnetic warfare specialty and cyber tools development capability to the school, because we realize that with Moore's law and other things, we have to constantly be improving and constantly be innovating. And I'm very happy to say that the Cyber Center of Excellence is also undergoing one of the largest military construction projects in the entire Department of Defense, which I know you're familiar with, but I'm not sure that everyone out there is knowledge of, having knowledge about the magnitude of it. It's very significant investment by the U.S. government in Fort Gordon and in the community. In a few short years, we're going to have an entirely new campus for our cyber and signal schools that will train our future cyberspace soldiers. And for the second part of the question, the community is a force multiplier for the Cyber Center of Excellence in Fort Gordon. As the largest employer in the CSRA, with an estimated economic impact of about $2.8 billion a year, it takes the entire community to ensure we are successful in our mission to train and educate our cyberspace soldiers that will someday leave the military and hopefully stay in this area and benefit the community at large. And with that, the partnership with the Georgia Cyber Center could not be better. We routinely provide some of our military's most senior leaders with briefings shoulder to shoulder with folks in the Georgia Cyber Center and in the community. It also brings the cybersecurity industry to the area, which benefits us all, providing office space for both established cybersecurity and IT firms, which leads to a win-win relationship, and also brings in new, smaller companies that are on the cutting edge of technology. I would say they also fully support the area in cyber growth and initiatives and sponsor programs for our seed corn, our youth, and get them interested in STEM activities. So just take the annual TechNet Augusta Symposium held each year locally. Just this year alone, 2 Capture the Flag events were organized out of the Georgia Cyber Center, providing our youth, both internationally and as far down as our local middle and high schools, a couple of which I visited today and personally presented their awards. It gives them the opportunity to compete in a very complex, realistic, cyber-related environment and serve as basically an incident response team to go solve a problem. And then by solving the problem, they capture the flag. Just another win-win from bringing our young folks in together to educate a very important skill set that will benefit the community. So when we take this partnership and then couple it with the fully established Army Cyber Command on Fort Gordon, we have a great recipe for success. This presents a very unique opportunity and advantages for the Army when we join both the operational and the institutional cyber forces together on a single military installation. We learn quicker, we can build better folks to go out and fill the operational force, which results in, as folks transition, we have a more skilled workforce and we sustain a skilled workforce in the area. Now add that partnership with the Georgia Cyber Center to the equation, and you get increased innovation, increased growth, increased education and talent in the local region, destined to be recognized as the preeminent cyber district in the nation, in my humble opinion. Thank you again for the question.
No doubt. Well, we're about out of time, but I did want to say, I'm in my 4th term, and I've been on this journey with you, and what a privilege to work hand in hand with our great military and our cyber professionals to develop and to up our game, because this is, this is the new warfare. But it is great to have such talented cyber professionals in our armed services in our state. And I want to thank you for joining us today. I'm so grateful for your service to our nation and you taking time to share your expertise. We're excited about the growth potential and future of Fort Gordon, and we thank you for your leadership in the transformation of this military installation. Y'all are truly the tip of the spear in the future of warfare. General Hersey, thank you very much.
And I want to thank you, Congressman Allen, again for the opportunity to talk about the military and cybersecurity today to the Georgia Chamber. And I hope that when you are in the Augusta area, any of you, please take the time to come and see Fort Gordon and witness the amazing growth and transformation that we have going on here in the CSRA. So thank you again. Great to be part of the team that is the CSRA.
Thank you, sir.